Hey there, and welcome back to Temporary Locals.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. And this week, our guest is taking us to the country of Fiji and the more than 300 islands in the South Pacific off the coast of Australia and New Zealand. But before we get into that, if you are new here, Jared and I are an adventure loving couple sharing real stories and experiences from the places that we've actually been. And sometimes we host fellow travelers who've been to places that are still on our bucket list. So, whether you're planning your next adventure or you're just here for the storytelling, we are so glad that you're here. And we hope that you subscribe and stick around, join us. We put out new episodes every week. Typically, we'll start off with a current event, not always, but sometimes we do. And right now, there are wildfires in Canada, and the smoke is billowing into the US, creating some bad air quality.
Yeah, heavy smog up north. We haven't experienced any of that down here. We're pretty far south, but I know a lot of northern states are experiencing a lot of smog rolling in. So it's unfortunate. These things happen. It happens to us all the time, but hopefully they can get it under control. And our thoughts are with the people of Canada. We like Canada. You've lived there,
Yeah,
and we've
briefly.
done an episode on Canada. So all our brothers and sisters in the Great North, our thoughts are with you.
Yeah, and I did see something kind of uplifting that there are some storms that are potentially changing the density or direction of the um, smoke that's rolling in. But I know that the northern states in the US, close to the border of Canada, Michigan, Minnesota, were having some bad air quality. My mom's in Michigan right now, and she was saying that it just smells like campfire outside, and the air quality is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I wondered if that would make it down to the Carolinas because the last time this happened, do you remember? It made it here,
Hmm.
and I was like, that is so crazy. We're in South Carolina, and the wildfires in Canada, the smoke is reaching down this far as south.
Yeah. I mean, the world is ever changing, and whether you agree that we have a hand in it or not, the world is constantly going through cycles, and things change all throughout history and the history of the earth. Climate's always changed, regardless of us. So who knows? You know,
Yeah,
it seems like these things happen more frequently, but we also live in the internet age, and information's more immediate and more easily accessible. So I think we're also just more aware of these kind of things all the time.
yeah, I think that's a big part of it too.
Hmm.
Like things feel like they're happening more frequently, but it's maybe just that we're accessing the information more frequently than before.
So with that, let's get into the episode.
Yeah, a little intro about our guest. Jorina is a slow traveler and yoga teacher, and she's also a content creator over on Instagram. She left Belgium 3.5 years ago, feeling unsure of what came next, and what started as a soul searching adventure kind of evolved into just an entirely new lifestyle. And she says she doesn't plan to go back to the quote unquote normal way of living anytime soon. So, like I said, she focuses on slow travel, mindfulness, ocean life, snorkeling, and intentional living. You can find, and she corrected me. I said Jorina, and I almost just said it. It's Jorina. So, publicly, I apologize, Jorina.
Hmm.
But you can find her on Instagram at urina.atsea, where she shares tips on how to incorporate yoga into your day, even if you only have 5 minutes, and also some spectacular views. We're excited to have her on to talk about her time sailing around the islands of Fiji. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Let's go.
Well, hi, Jorina. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much
Hello,
for
thank
making
you.
time to chat with us. We're really excited to connect with you.
Likewise, likewise.
So, we know that you left Belgium and that you've been traveling for the last 3.5+ years. Today, we're going to be mainly focusing on your time in Fiji, but we wanted to talk to you about how you came to that decision to leave home and then where all of your travels have taken you during that time.
Yeah, that's a bit of a story, and it's actually a moment that I was really struggling in life, is what brought me here in a way that I was just really not coping with my life in Belgium. I was really in a bad place mentally. From one moment to another, I decided to put my house on the sales market. I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm done. I'm just gonna see how it goes. didn't really have a plan or anything, but I was just like, I'm gonna put it on there and we'll see from there. And then within 2 weeks, my house was sold, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving Belgium. Like, that's what's going to happen. There's no way back now. And then I just kind of stepped on a train, slowly made all the steps I had to do. Like, I left my job behind. Everyone in my family, I told them that I was gonna leave. They were like, "What are you gonna do?" And I said, "I don't know. I think I'm gonna travel for a year, maybe 2 years, and then we'll see." But that continued until up until this day, and I'm not planning to go back to Belgium. It's just it made me see that there's a different kind of living. Like, I've always had this dream of doing a world trip, but I was just kind of bound in a place with situations that I thought it was not happening, that it was not going to be possible for me. But then I did, and yeah, this is how I want to continue. Like, the world is literally your oysters. There's so many options you can do, and it's not always easy. But I definitely like it the way that I'm living my life now.
We were talking about that on a previous episode, just kind of like taking the leap, I guess. Maybe not necessarily like leaving your home, but just taking the leap to travel. There's so many
Mm,
people, especially in the US, that have never even left like their state or, much less the country. Very, very brave, very cool that you were able to just make that decision and and go. And it seems like it's been good for you.
mm. It's funny that you say brave, because so many, and obviously I can see why so many people use the word brave, but it was more really out of desperation. And it's
Hmm.
it's funny
Yeah.
because um yeah, it's funny. It was really out of desperation, not because I felt brave to do something, but because I really needed a change, and I kind of was with my back against the wall, and that's what pushed me to go further. Um but it's been really rewarding. It's been, especially in the beginning, very emotional as well. Like, giving up something like that was big, because I gave up financial stability and my home, which gave me a stable home, and those were two very important things for me. So obviously it did end up with quite some stress in the beginning. The first months, there's been moments that I was like, what have I done? Like, oh my God, I have nothing to return to. But that's really just all your mind, because you can always go back to where you were. Maybe not the house. Obviously, I would not have the house anymore, but like, just takes a little bit of time, but you can always go back to where you left. And that is kind of a reassurance that I've learned from that. Like, there is a way back. It's just
Hmm.
you probably will not need it. And that's the good thing.
So where have you gone in these 3.5-ish years?
I started in the Maldives. From the Maldives, I went to Sri Lanka, UAE, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, back to Indonesia, Thailand, and then I went to Australia. And then since Australia, I've done back and forth Asia a little bit again, but always back to places I've already been. And then recently now, just the 3 months of Fiji.
Oh,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Would you recommend, like, if you had to, someone that was looking to do sort of the same thing, would you recommend the Maldives or would you recommend a different location for their first place?
Um, so the Maldives was, like, when you think about the Maldives, you think of like these beautiful beaches, crystal clear water, and you have this honeymoon kind of vibe. And it is definitely that, but it's also more than just, the luxury resorts. You have
uh-huh.
the local islands. They're very, very small, but they're very cute. It's a really nice vibe. The people are super nice, but it's definitely not the kind of, because I was back then still like very much in this backpacker kind of vibe, and it was a little bit hard for me to connect with people, because majority of the people are couples or friends that are already close to each other, but not really people who tend to reach out to other people. So I was struggling with that in the beginning, but it's definitely, if you're into diving, if you're into snorkeling, there's also some nice surfing there. I didn't surf, but there's a nice wave there. Then yeah, I definitely recommend. But I do think it gets boring quite easy since it's literally just that.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see how, certain destinations tend to attract visitors, people on vacation, like you said, couples and things like that. And I think that's why certain places like, and I don't know if you had this experience in Southeast Asia, but it's more geared towards like nomads and backpackers. So was that more of kind of your vibe when you got to like Thailand and Vietnam and stuff?
Mm, mm. Yeah, just the backpackers.
Yeah.
The and also really the local places. I really like places where there's not that many tourists, where you don't have all the westernized restaurants or like all the translations. Like I like to go really local, even though I have not spent as much time just being surrounded by locals, because it's also a little bit as a struggle. Like I would love to do more of it, but it's also challenging, especially if you're by yourself.
Hmm.
Um, because I was on a budget, like often those destinations are also a little bit like more expensive because you have to do everything by yourself, and public transport is not as organized as you would think it would be. But yeah.
Okay. So we saw that you recently became a yoga teacher. Is that
Mm.
something that you've always kind of been interested in, the practice, or is that something that started kind of after you started traveling?
When I started traveling. So before I left Belgium, I had tried it already a few times, but never really got into it. Like I didn't have the patience. I found it very boring. I didn't I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was just boring. And then when I left Belgium, and in Belgium I was just working the whole time. So I didn't do any sports. Every once in a while I went for a run, but like doing movement or something, I did none of that. And when I left Belgium, that was one of the things that I was like, okay, from now on, every day, even if it's just for like 5 minutes, I'm going to do something. So I started to force myself to have some time on the mat, and I started to explore a lot more about the yoga, and I started to enjoy it a lot more. And then after being consistent with that, I was like, wow, I really want to go deeper into this and explore more about it. So then I decided to go to India and do a course for 2 months, which was really nice. Yeah, it was a really intense but very rewarding experience.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to take a yoga course, India's the place to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good way, also a good excuse to go there, and to immerse myself in that culture while doing this, and then slowly go out of it. Because I decided to go to India and be like, I'm going to immediately do the course because I know it's going to be an overwhelming country, and I know it's going to take some time to get used to everything. And it was a really, really, really good decision because I was doing 2 months just that, getting used to the people, the smells, the chaos from the streets. And then after that, I went 1 month traveling a little bit, which made me very prepared for just all the rest. It was piece of cake after that, where a lot of people start to travel like immediately and it's just too overwhelming, which I also can completely understand.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that you kind of started with, doing 5 minutes and whatnot. I saw one of your videos where you put a flow together, like if you only have 5 minutes, do this. And I
Mm,
was like, wow, that's amazing because when I think of doing yoga, and I don't do it that often, but we have mats sitting right here. Um, I think, oh man, I need like, 30 minutes, or I need, a big stretch of time to be able to
mm.
like,
Stretch
really
of
get
time.
into it. Yeah. Yeah. A big stretch of time. Um, and I think that what you're providing, or like sharing of like, hey, if you only have 5 minutes, here's what you can do in that 5 minutes. And I really like that video that you made. Because
Thanks.
I think that, it's another one of those mental blocks that you convince yourself, I don't have time for this right now.
Yeah, it's I think because it was so strong for myself in the beginning. Indeed, when I think about working out, it's like, oh, 30 minutes or 1 hour, but it's really not that. It's just the fact that you show up. And just by showing up every time and consistently, it becomes kind of a habit. Like my body really started to ask for it. And even now, there's still days, when I don't feel like doing anything. And it's just, I can step on the mat without being like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I literally just step on the mat and then I just feel it. And those are usually the moments that I'm staying on my mat for 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, unplanned. It's just stepping on it and then just the feeling comes. And I think it's really important to not force yourself into anything because that kind of works already contradictive. You're going to feel resistance with stuff like that. So if you just make the deal with yourself, I'm just going to show up, but I'll see how that goes, then usually it goes a lot smoother. And I think even in 5 minutes, just 5 minutes showing up for yourself and doing something that feels good for you and being really focused on what you are doing is already so beneficial.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great perspective. Go ahead.
we mentioned about being brave, leaving your home, and that goes for anybody, but I think especially for a solo female traveler, uh, I think there's a lot of women that would like to do what you've done, but I think they might be kind of hesitant about maybe certain areas of the world. And I don't
Mm.
like to generalize entire countries. I think every place is beautiful and every place has wonderful people and everything. But I think as travelers, it's also important to be honest um, with ourselves and with other travelers. And so, as a female solo traveler, is there anywhere that you felt less safe or that you wouldn't suggest other solo females go?
Not really. I have to touch wood. I've always been very fortunate and I've never actually come into a situation that I was like, oh, that was a little bit risky. Obviously, as a woman, sometimes you hear the comments or, you have men staring at you or you have men trying to hit on you. Obviously that, but like you said, like that happens like everywhere, so not
Hmm.
thinking of those situations. Because I've never actually been somewhere where I was like, oh, I legit felt really unsafe. I've entered a few situations that were just really sketchy. Because of that, I'm also not really prepared that it's going to happen, if that makes sense. So I'm not probably, I sometimes take a little bit too much risk, I feel like, because it's just always been so good. But that being said, Sri Lanka was a country where I felt sometimes a lot more uncomfortable than in other destinations. It's also a little bit known for that, but not
Hmm.
in a way that I actually felt unsafe. But you just obviously need to be aware, like, if you like partying, you should not go partying just by yourself. Do not get drunk at all because the men, especially when they're drunk, you can get in some nasty situations. Um, India, there are situations where you can more just uncomfortable, not unsafe, because the men are just not used to a woman like you being there, especially if you just wear like you would usually do at home.
Hmm.
Um, but apart from that, not really. I cannot really think of one place that I would not recommend. You just always obviously need to be aware with things that you can do and things that you cannot do as a female traveler. But especially Southeast Asia is it's so safe. It's so easy to travel. It's so easy to meet people. You will meet really good people. And I really believe that people in Asia are in general very, very good people. I
Hmm.
absolutely love them. There's obviously a few countries that are my favorite, but so far I can only speak positive about it.
Yeah, I agree. People in Southeast Asia are some of the kindest people. I mean, it's a land of
Mm.
smiles. But yeah, I just think it's an interesting perspective as a female solo traveler to hear kind of like what that's like, traveling to different places because you don't really know until you get there, right? So,
Hmm.
um, but we are here and we brought you on today to talk about Fiji.
Yeah.
specifically.
So you went sailing around the different islands around Fiji for, was it 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months. That's correct.
Okay. So what led you to that and why Fiji?
It's not that it was a destination that was on my list. I don't really have, obviously, I still have some destinations I want to go to, but I don't really plan my travels according to that anymore. I was in India and I had said yes to a certain project, and I needed time for that. I needed to be in one place. I wanted to have my focus on this. But I also wanted to be in kind of a new environment, have some new impulses, like I had to almost leave India, so I was planning where to go next, and there's always a visa thing. And this I saw this ad on Facebook from the captain. He had posted on Facebook. So I'm part of a few Facebook groups regarding to sailing and people looking for crew for their boat. And I saw this ad from him, and he was looking for long-term commitment. And I thought, oh, that could be good because I would be living on a boat, but in the meantime, I would also be exploring, different places. So it would combine two things that I really want to do. So we had a call, and I told him about my side, he told about his side, and I was like, yeah, this sounds exciting. And then 2 months, or I think this was in January, and then in March, the end of March, I flew there, and I just got back beginning of this month, or yeah, end of last month. So um yeah, that's how it happened. I wanted to travel, but stay in one place at the same time, and that was perfectly available on a boat.
Yeah, seems kind of like, kismet too. Like they also needed a crew. So was it just you and the captain or were there others on the trip?
No, there was one other girl, so it was the three of us.
Had you ever sailed before? Is this something you were experienced in, or was this your first time?
No, this was the first time. My last job in Australia was as a deckhand slash all rounder on an island. So I was working on a boat every second day. And that's where I started to think like, oh, it's actually really cool to look for opportunities on a boat again. And that's when I started to get part of these Facebook groups. And it kind of went from one thing into another. And then seeing this ad was like, oh yeah, cool, but I have no experience. And he specifically also said, you don't need experience, I'm willing to teach you. And the main goal was also not the sailing. So the sailing was not the biggest part of this trip, it was more exploring the islands. And I think that's why it was good, because it's not that sailing wise I had such a strong feeling of like, oh, I want to learn this, because especially stepping into this story was, for me, the main priority was focusing on this project and
Hmm.
having just kind of a home. So sailing was definitely not the priority in the story
Hmm.
from my side.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So did you spend a lot of time kind of like anchored near islands?
Yeah, yeah. We, especially in the beginning, the first island where we were, and we changed anchorages a few times, but I think the first island we've spent 2 weeks, because it was so beautiful. It had all these different small islands. It was really, really a small paradise. And it's super remote. It's not so easy to get to as well because of wind directions and stuff. So not a lot of sailors go there. And because of that, there were only, in the beginning, we were the only boat, and then there were two other boats, I think, by the time we left. And it was just so beautiful that we spend more time than what we had initiated in the beginning. And that's what happened in the next islands as well. Like you're like, oh yeah, let's stay here more or less like 3 days, but then the locals were so nice, or you had like such a good vibe, or it was so beautiful that we stayed 1 week, 2 weeks, and that's usually how it went.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Walk us through like a typical day, because I'm trying to like picture what that would be like. I mean, what was a typical day like? You wake up and what do you do?
So I was always the first one to wake up. I wake up, I would do my yoga on the boat. So there was a nice spot in the front of the deck to do it. And by the time I would finish, the rest would be awake as well. We would have breakfast. And then if we would go to the islands, we would take the dinghy, go to the islands, spend some time there, come back, have an afternoon swim, and then sunset, have food, and go to bed early. Like especially in the beginning, I went to bed early, but it really depended because some places were really good for snorkeling, other places were really good with the locals. So it really depended on what we were going on what we were doing there. But there was not really a structure in how the days went. It was just all about exploring the island, snorkeling, fishing, and then relaxing in between as well. Spending time on the boat. It was a good mixture.
Did you develop a good relationship with them?
Yeah, in the beginning, because the other girl, she had arrived 2 weeks before me, and they had prepared the boat and stuff for the departure. And when I arrived, obviously you have already two people who have spent already very close time to each other, and then you come. So I was a little bit hesitant in the beginning, not really sure how I was gonna fit into the dynamics, but obviously that just takes a little bit of time. Um, but yeah, because you live so close on each other, like obviously you develop a connection, you develop a kind of bond that you would not develop on the mainland, just catching up every once in a while. Um, you really learn a lot about those people, but also more so about yourself and how you interact with people. And it can be sometimes very confronting. Like I found it quite confronting at times. But it's been a big lesson, and it's been a beautiful story. I'm grateful that I was able to share it with them. Yeah, it was really interesting.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah,
Mm,
sounds very
You know,
cool.
it's one of those travel experiences that you kind of just stumble into, have no real plan of it, but it kind of it finds you or you find it, and it ends
mm.
up being like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it sounds like you jumped on that, and I think that's really the essence of travel in general, right? Is like going after those opportunities when they come about.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like we talk about, itineraries on here all the time, but sometimes on trips that we've taken, the most memorable experiences or, like the most fun that we had were like the unplanned days where we just kind of went
Mm,
exploring and
Yeah,
figuring it out, right?
yeah,
So,
letting things happen, letting them happen
mm.
to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you say that, like letting them happen to you, because I used to be the kind of traveler also, like, like you said, I had my itinerary. I had everything planned that I'm going to spend this many days here. I'm going to spend this many days here. And if I wasn't able to do any of those things, I was not stressed, but I was disappointed in myself. I was like, damn it, I didn't see it and I cannot tick it off. But I became completely the opposite. And that's a funny thing because the captain in the beginning was a few times. So, okay, what's the plan? What are we gonna do? Like how much time are we gonna stay here? And I'm like, I'm really not the kind of person to organize things anymore. I don't look up anything. It's not that I have anything in mind that I have to see. I just kind of let everything happen. I became the complete opposite. But because of that, it has also given me a lot of freedom to experience things that I would normally not experience.
Hmm.
So yeah, I really loved how you said happened to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of like slow, long term travel, right? Because I think
Yeah,
where
definitely.
itineraries come into play is a lot of times for people that have time off work and they're going on a vacation or going on a trip for a week or for 10 days or whatever it is. And it's like in those moments, you feel like, well, I need to get the most out of this opportunity. I
Yeah.
need to see this, this, and this. But when you're doing like long-term travel, you don't really have that same kind of pressure. You can kind of just let things happen. So I think that's kind of the difference there. And that's why I like long-term slow travel is really special in that way, is because it's not as stressful for you to have an itinerary or check things off of a list, an arbitrary list.
And I mean, our the reason why we started this podcast is because of that feeling. Like we say temporary locals, but it's like you're just existing like someone who lived there would. So I saw you shared with us that you went night diving for the
Mm,
first time. How did that come about? And like scuba diving?
no, so yeah, I call it night diving, but no, it's not scuba diving. We just did snorkeling, but it was wow, it's such a cool experience because it's already I've spent 2 years in Australia, and obviously in Australia you need to be aware of many things. Like there's many sharks. There's some waters where there's crocodiles. I've spent half a year in crocodile infested waters. So because of this, I became very aware of what the ocean can have. Like that's not a feeling that I grew up with in Europe, but in here that feeling became very present. And because of that, being in Fiji, you're just always very aware. And when it's at night, there's already a lot of more you feel a lot more adrenaline already going through your body because you even see less than during the day. But it was such a cool experience because I don't know, the ocean comes alive in a way that I've never seen before. Like the colors are completely different than during the day. It's amazing how colorful everything is. It's amazing how much life there is even in the water, like how many small organisms you see swimming around you that you cannot observe during the day. Like it's just so cool. And then looking up and having a super clear sky, having like thousands of stars above you is just wow, like literally core memory, really.
How far away from shore was this when you went snorkeling at night?
So this was around the islands. So because
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of like corals very close to the islands. So we were always very close to yeah, we were always at the islands. It was never open water or anything like that. We only went night diving directly while being anchored at the islands.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You mentioned the night sky, and I was just as you were talking about diving at night, I was more thinking about the sky because we love like astrophotography and we love
Mm.
chasing stars. And I mean, I would imagine that stargazing there, I mean, there's no light pollution, right? I would imagine that the night sky is just amazing.
It was, especially one specific night. I do have to say, like in general, for example, like sunsets, we did not have that many good sunsets because it was often too clouded. Same like with in the evenings when we were looking at the stars, there were not that many evenings that we could see a lot of stars just because there were often a lot of clouds. Where in Australia, for example, I've seen a lot more. Obviously, I've spent a lot more time here as well, but just in general, there would be a higher chance of having those very clear skies, I think, in the parts that I've seen in Australia than what I've experienced in Fiji. But that specific night was just, yeah, literally like it was almost out of a film. It was almost too beautiful to think that that was actual reality happening at that moment.
Wow. Sounds incredible.
Yeah, it does. Well, you mentioned the colors are different. So you could see it wasn't just dark around you in the water?
No, no, obviously it's pitch dark. We just had torches in our hands,
Okay.
like special diving torches. But yeah, that makes you obviously able to see because otherwise you wouldn't see anything. Without light, you
Right.
cannot really do something like that. Um, but yeah, because of that, even if you would do that during the day already, the reflection of that light on the fish is just it gives you so much detail. And it's just it's crazy. I did not know, obviously when you see when you see underwater photography on social media or something, you're like, wow, these colors. But I always thought it was just edited a lot, but it really is that. You just need to have the right lighting, and it was really cool to observe this.
Yeah, the first time you ever go diving or snorkeling, especially like in open water, you see, like you said, how alive under the surface of the ocean actually is. I mean, it's a whole world under there. I mean, obviously, we know the ocean's massive, but you get under there and you see all the wildlife and all the coral and everything, and it's really a spectacular thing to do.
So, getting back to more of like a local vibe, did you have any experiences like that on the islands of Fiji, meeting people that are there?
Yeah. So the first island we went to, we connected with some local fishermen, and because the other girl who was on board, she was a just graduated marine biologist, and she was kind of doing her own project while being on the boat. So she wanted to get stories and interviews from local people to see how the ocean had developed the last couple of years and the impact of global warming and stuff like that. So because of that, we went fishing with the local women. So she asked if she could go fishing with them, and we had one of them come with us on a fishing trip to see how she does it, what they use for bait, what kind of fish they take, and to see how they run their life. So that was the first time. She was really, really, really lovely, lovely woman. But then you also can see that obviously you can learn a lot of things from them, but sometimes also how they are operating their things are just not really sustainable. It's very interesting to witness because obviously you're also in an area that is, super remote, so you don't have access to many things. Also for the locals, it can be like very challenging. So it was really, really interesting to witness that. And then on the second island, we had fishermen coming by on the island trying to sell us fish. So we bought fish from them. The second day they came again. The third day, I think it was just one of them or two. No, there were two of them trying to come, asking if we wanted to have lobster. And we were like, we don't want lobster, but can we maybe come fishing with you? And they were looking at us and they were like, you want to come now? And we were like, yeah, let's go. We want to see it. And they were like, okay, yeah. And then we went a few hours fishing with them. And then we became so close that that's also one of the islands we stayed like 10 days or something, just always spending time with his family and his children, his wife, them taking us to another part of the island where we went looking for crabs. And yeah, it was really cool. It was a very, very nice experience to see how they handle things and them happily also get us along, because they like it when you show interest. They like showing them how they do things. They like just sharing their side of things, and it's really nice if you're open to that.
That's so cool. And that's again one of those things that you can't plan that you're going to run
Mm,
into fishermen and build a bond and go spend time with them and their family. So that is just a very cool, unique experience.
yeah, I agree.
That's awesome. Another core memory.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It makes it sometimes also because you're creating this bond, and it's becoming so good. It's becoming so comfortable that it also makes you hard to move on to the next, because when do you decide that you've had enough of it? When do you decide that you should go for something else when you know that it's so nice where you are spending time? Like it's hard to find that balance, let's say, to be open to new experiences. But yeah, it's something I sometimes struggle with, like just the goodbye. It's really when you get to meet those people, um it's just really hard to say goodbye sometimes, because the times that you have are so precious, but they're sometimes just so short, and you have to continue onto the next, and then it just always feels a little bit like leaving family behind that
Hmm.
you probably will not see anymore. um but yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly a bit ago, about meeting people abroad and then having to leave and go about your life. And my position is that like there's something kind of beautiful in that too, as hard as it can be. It's like you meet people abroad traveling, whether it's locals or other travelers, and you form this like deep bond with them. And then everybody kind of goes their separate ways, and you may never see this person again. But there's something kind of beautiful in that. It's like you shared a moment together, and then you go off and you have moments with other people. And that's the story of life, right? Other than your
Yeah.
close friends and family, I mean, that's you people come in and out of your life all the time in normal life. And so I think to do that as a traveler and to meet people and to share a special moment with somebody for a brief amount of time, there's like something special about that to me.
Yeah, I agree. And even though you know that it's only been temporarily, you know that those memories will live forever, and you will always, whenever you talk about those memories, or whenever you look at those pictures, like that bond that you had will always be there, no matter if you see them again or not. It's just it's I agree with what you say.
Hmm. Yeah, we keep people alive in our memories, right?
Mm,
So I mean, you may never physically see this person again, or you may never even talk to them again, but they're always, you know, in here, and
yeah.
you always have those memories of them, and that's what keeps them alive.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, did you have a favorite island that you went to?
Mm, yes, but then again, I cannot say, like, there was one island where there was no village that was my favorite because the spearfishing was really good there, and it's only something new that I started. So for spearfishing, that was my favorite one. There's one island where we had a lovely family living there who took us in like family, and for that one was my favorite one. There was another one that had the prettiest water. So it's I have a few favorites, but Fulanga, which was the first one where we were, which is the most south of the Lao group, was definitely the best start, just by how it looked. Like it's unreal how pretty it is. The water is crystal clear. The snorkeling was absolutely amazing there. I would say just how the trip started in the south was probably the best island, I would say. But there were so many lovely places that we've done, and they all have just something else to offer. So I wouldn't be able to pick one favorite, but if I would go for
Sure.
one favorite, Fulanga just to start, that one.
Awesome. You mentioned spearfishing. So that's something that you learned to do while you were there?
Yeah, learned. Still not really good at it, but so on the island in Australia when I had the job, the people we took, they went spearfishing a lot. So I had done a little bit of spearfishing there, spearfishing crayfish mainly. Well, that was the only thing that I speared there, but that was my first actual experience. But now in Fiji, yeah, we went spearfishing a lot. It was also a different gun, a little bit of a bigger spear gun. So I've tried a lot. I've failed more times than I can count. Like it's really not that easy. It's not so easy because I also cannot hold my breath for such a long time. So sometimes, it's not that you can swim around and then just shoot. It's more you have to go down, be patient, hold your breath, and then once everything is settled, then you often can find your shot. So it's really tricky. But I've come to really enjoy. Yeah, I find it a very interesting sport, and I'm pretty fascinated by it, and it's something that I would really love to do more in the future.
Wow, we'll have
Yeah.
to try it out.
Yeah, that
I've
is
never
Mm,
gone
seems very
spearfishing.
cool. And it
Yeah.
seems, like you said, like very technical. There's a lot going on if you're
Hmm.
free diving
Yeah.
because you're holding your breath because you have a certain amount of time and you have to concentrate or let things settle. So very
yeah, it's
cool.
we were there was one other couple where we went spearfishing with a few times, and they were really good. They were very good free divers, very good spearfishers, and seeing them from the surface in the water like that, literally being like a mermaid in the water and then also catching really good fish was just like, wow, that is so cool. Like that is really a level I one day want to get to. Because it's like you say, like you have to control your breath, you have to control yourself, because I found in the beginning you're just like, okay, so focused on shooting something, and as soon as you see something you're like, oh yeah, but then you also really need to quiet your mind in many ways. And I think that is what's intriguing me so much about it, because there was this one time when I was going down and then all of a sudden I had a GT coming at me, and I would not go for a GT at all. And it was coming at me and I saw it, but because I was so focused with this gun, I shot it and I felt so bad, and I hit it and I didn't have it. It got away, but I felt so bad. I was like, why did I do that? Because I know that I was not gonna go for this fish. This is not the kind of fish that I would eat. I don't know. It's not what I would go for. So I felt so bad. And afterwards I came up, and it was not until the next day that I told the other girl on the boat. I was like, Meg, I shot a fish and I don't know why I've done it. And literally because yeah, I just felt so emotional about it. And she was like, it's fine, you know, there's also adrenaline and stuff going through you when you're in the water, and it's fine. And I said, yeah, but that moment really made me realize that it's not just, you know, shooting something. There is some stuff behind it, and it just really takes a lot of learning as well, making mistakes and learning.
Right.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that you have to quiet your mind. And I wonder if does your yoga practice play into that? Almost like not quite meditating, but being able to quiet your mind.
um I think already when you are in the water, there's, I don't know, it's funny because I was thinking about that at one point when I was in the water. I started to become very much aware of my senses, because sometimes I do this when I'm um, just on land and I'm too much in my head. I bring myself back with my senses. And I was in the water and I was thinking about this. I was like, what do I hear? You know, because you're in the water, but still, you obviously, when you're at the surface, you have the water clashing in your ears. But when I was going down, I was like, what do I hear? What's the sound that I can observe? Like, what is the sensation that I feel on my body at the moment? And I realized that when I'm in the water, already there is not much room for being too much in your head, because there's all these things happening around you, and it has such a, for me personally, such a calming effect on me, way more than the yoga does to me. Like it's way easier to quiet my mind already in the water than it is on land or being on my mat. And I find it an interesting thing to think about, but I'm not sure if doing yoga has brought any advantage to that. I think it just made me more aware of the impact that it has.
Yeah, there is something about, I mean, hearing, right? When you get in the water, it's already kind of muffled, and there's something about that helps you feel more, I don't know, aware. Like if you've ever, floated and your ears are underneath the water, and you can hear your breath easier because of, the water around it.
Yeah, I think the same kind of thing applies to surfing. I know a lot of people that surf say the same thing, that it helps clear your mind, and you can you're out there and you're doing an activity and everything, but it's not really about hitting waves. It's about being out in the ocean and just for that moment, you're not thinking about anything else, and it helps keep you kind of centered in that way.
Yeah, I agree. Do you
Yeah.
surf?
I have surfed. Yeah, I surfed in Maui.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was like the hardest physical thing I've ever done. It gave me a whole new respect for surfers, because before I ever tried surfing, I was like, oh, you get on a board. I grew up skateboarding and doing all kinds of like action sports like that, and so I thought, oh, it'll come natural to me. And I thought, it doesn't seem that hard. I mean, I know it was hard to do, but I was like, The hardest part is the like paddling out, and it was just the most exhausting day I've ever had. And I just have such a high respect for surfers because like the conditioning you need to have to go out there and paddle like that for hours is just crazy. It wasn't relaxing like it is for some people. For me, I was exhausted, but it was amazing. It was amazing. So
Do you surf? You surf, right?
Uh, I survive more, I would say.
yeah,
But yeah, I've done it. I've done it a few times. I love it. I love how much I struggle with it, but there's been more times than I can count that I was like, this was the last time. I'm done. I'm not stepping on a board again. But then, yeah, I've never actually came to that point, luckily, because I still find it a very beautiful thing. It's like you say, it's awesome, obviously, to have like a super nice wave, but it is very exhausting. And you do not know when you start with this sport, you do not know that it's probably 70% paddling, then the other percent is just surviving, and then there's maybe 5% surfing of what's left of
hmm
the whole story. Like it's really not what I thought it was going to be, and definitely way more challenging, but it's so beautiful because the vibe amongst the people in the water, if you are with different people in the water, it's just a very nice energy. Obviously, not in all places. Like there's some places where people can become a little bit nasty about the waves as well. But in general, I think I really like the vibe and the energy, and just being in the water for such a long time, it can also become very meditative. So yeah, I like it.
yeah, and because of how difficult it is, it's so rewarding when you finally do
Mm,
hit that first wave. When you that first time you're able to actually stand up on a board and hit a wave, it's like the best feeling ever because it is so challenging and you think to yourself, I'm never going to be able to do this. And then when you do, even if you're only up for a few seconds and then you fall, but if the first time you're able to actually stand up on the board and hit a wave, it's like you won the Super Bowl. It's incredible, you know.
yeah, it's funny because when you just start and it's like you say, you're able to stand up and you catch your wave, you're like, oh my god, this was amazing. You immediately picture yourself how it looked like as one of those professionals with like a massive wave behind you. Like
yeah.
that's how you pick. And then if you are unlucky that someone had captured that moment, it's like that cannot have been it. Like just
Yeah.
a little small wave like pushing.
Yeah.
That's funny that you said if you're unlucky that someone captured it. It's like let me have this in my mind.
Man, I have a
Yeah.
picture of me. I have a picture of me on a wave doing this standing up and it looks like I'm like surfing, but really right after that photo, the guy was like quick with it because right after that photo, I'm sure I fell, right? but I look good.
Yeah.
So, spearfishing was something new. Was there any other kind of activities like that that were new to you out there?
So obviously the sailing was new for me. We did have some sailing moments. Um and I do have to. I was really, I'm not sure if impressed is the word that, I don't think impressed is the word that I'm looking for, but like sailing, and I already had this impression of it, but I've only realized now like it is such a complex sport. Like I know that some people obviously who have done it their whole lives and who are really into it, they do it with their two fingers in their nose, piece of cake. But there are so many things you have to take in consideration. Like it's my deepest respect to people who just buy a boat not knowing what they are doing at all, because there's, I don't know, it can just go wrong so fast, and not knowing anything about it. Obviously, you're not aware of the dangers that could be happening, but it can just go wrong like so easily. And so that was definitely also completely new for me, something that I would also love to experience more of in the future. And then I think that's it. Obviously, living for such a long time on a boat was also completely new for me. I've never actually lived on a boat. I've never been in such a small space for such a long time, which you have to get used to as well. But I think that's it. Obviously, like the cooking style of the locals, like they've prepared things in ways that I've never experienced before. So you learn some things from that. Some new fruits that I tried. I don't know if you guys have soursop there.
We do not, but we did try it in Costa Rica. There was like some soursop drinks that we had.
Yeah, I heard about a drink, but it's so good. Like that was also something completely new for me, and I absolutely love the soursop fruit now. It was really because we went on a hike, and then I saw it hanging in a tree, and I was like, because sometimes you can have these fruits, you know, that are not edible or something, and I saw it hanging, and I was like, oh, that's a weird thing. I've never seen that before. And then a little bit later, the people that we were walking with, he was like, oh my god, this is so good, you guys have to try this. And I was like, oh, you can't eat it? And he was like, yeah. And it was literally like one of those, what's the candy called? Like the long, like the sour kind of things. You have it in blue, you have it in red. And it was almost like having one of those candies. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And it's so nice to go on a hike and just have the fruits, like, you know, alongside the track, just to be able to pick them up and then having some little snack along your hike. That was also a really cool new experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something different for us too, because I mean, hiking around here, we don't have typically a lot of fruit trees, but we experienced that going to a tropical place like in Costa Rica. We rented an
Mm,
Airbnb and there's like papayas growing from
In the
the
yeah.
yard,
tree in the
yeah.
yard, and it was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, soursop is almost like it looks like a small, like a durian, like a small durian,
Yeah.
kinda spiky.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, tell me about some of the other cuisine. Was it a lot of fish? Like, what were you kind of eating when you were out there?
So we had one family that, which was on the second island where we spent like 2 weeks. The ones that took the fishermen. So his family cooked a few times for us, and they have, what's it called again? The breadfruit. I don't know if you guys know breadfruit. I also didn't know what it was. So for me also that was completely new. So that's also something that grows on the trees. They would put it in underneath the fire so that it can burn. The outside will burn completely. It gets like this smoky kind of flavor. And then they smash it into kind of this, it becomes this mash substance, very kind of chewy. Then they boil it and it becomes kind of like gnocchi. I don't know if you know gnocchi, the pasta thing, but it kind of gets like this texture. And then they boil the coconut milk for a super long time with brown sugar so that it becomes like a very yummy caramel, but like a very long time. I think it literally took them almost 2 hours or something. So it's a really long process. And then they add the coconut caramel to the breadfruit, and it was so good. Like, oh
Huh.
my God, so good. It was really cool to see this whole process and how such a, you would think like, oh yeah, such an easy dish, but it was so time consuming. Like all the steps
Mhm.
needed so long, but it was so cool because we were just sitting at the fire, you know, like trying some things along the way, seeing how everything is developing in this end result, and just having some chats. So the whole process was just really, really, really cool. But that was absolutely one of my favorite dishes. I don't think I'd be able to make it myself after this. But yeah, it was really nice.
That's awesome.
Making me hungry.
I know. Yeah, making me crave some like fresh fruits, fresh foods.
Mm.
That's awesome. Well, tell me about some of the wildlife that you saw. Obviously, you're snorkeling, so you're seeing fish. I saw a video where you were kind of sitting watching like a lightning storm, I think, and you saw dolphins. Was that wasn't a common sight out there?
We saw dolphins only, and it was really beautiful because that was the last trip we've done back to our end destination, let's say. So it was early morning. Yeah, it was literally sunrise, and I was sitting at the deck just observing the sun coming up. And the whole trip I was saying, I really hope we see dolphins. There's just something about, being on a boat and having dolphins around. It's just magical. I love it. It's still, every time when I see it, it still brings this childish excitement out of me. And it didn't happen the whole time. And the last trip, so I was observing the sun, and then all of a sudden I heard a splash, and I look and I didn't see anything. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. And then I heard a second splash, and I was like, no, like there's definitely something out there. So then I started looking, and then there was a small pod of dolphins around us. And I was like, oh my God, this is just perfect, because there's no better way to end the trip than like this, So I started shouting at the back, because Meg and the captain were in the back. I said, dolphins, dolphins. And then everyone was just looking and taking the moment in, the last moment in. It was really, really beautiful. Apart from that, so when it comes to wildlife on the islands, I didn't really see, there's not that much to see. There's a few islands where there's snakes, but none of them we've seen as well. You see birds, some really beautiful birds that I do not know the name of. But the main things that we've seen were all in the water.
Like you said, what a perfect way to end the trip is, seeing the dolphins. Almost like they were kind of like,
saying
waving
goodbye.
you off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. Really beautiful.
So it sounds like your time in Fiji was really special, and it was a really cool, life experience. What's next? I mean, where are you heading next?
Yeah, I don't know. So now I'm back in Australia, and I wanted to come back here to figure out my next step. So the main goal at the moment is finding a job again, because obviously, as nice as it is, you also every once in a while need to work. So that is the thing that I'm focusing on at the moment. But I would love to find a job I'm actually currently looking at options in Costa Rica. So I would love to go there. Panama is also one of the options. I've never been, I've never been in any of those. South America, I also haven't done yet. So I would love to find something there. But at the moment, the traveling part is just a little bit lower, and the focus is finding a job wherever that is. So I hope it's going to be in a nice place, but we'll see.
Well, if you decide to go to Costa Rica, let us know. We love Costa Rica, and we could share some tips with you. And it's also our first ever episode of this podcast was about our trip to Costa Rica.
That is right.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
That was the trip that we came back and we said, because we had sort of been talking about it for a while, like we should start a podcast. But it was after that trip we were like, oh,
we got some stories.
We got to talk about it.
Oh, nice. That's so good. That's such a good memory also. Good story.
Yeah. Central America is very underrated. A lot of people, when it comes to the Americas, people talk about obviously North America and South America, but like Central America doesn't really get its due. And I think places like Costa Rica and, like you said, Panama are just really special. They're like South America, but they really do have their own vibe, I would say.
But I also feel like, because they're also, like South America, I think is also a lot easier and cheaper to travel around, where Central America, or more specific, like Costa Rica, is definitely not a budget destination. Like if you look at the general prices, it's more expensive.
Yeah. It's still cheaper. I mean, I don't know how Australia is, but it's still cheaper than like here in the States. But for like Central South America, Costa Rica is one of the more expensive destinations, but it still wasn't bad. I mean, it was still pretty cheap. But yeah, I mean, like we went to Peru, and Peru is extremely cheap. So
affordable, yeah.
Not cheap, affordable. And yeah, we love South America too. We love Peru a lot. So
that one is on my list.
Yeah. But that was one thing, when we were planning that trip, we were supposed to go somewhere else, and things happen. So last minute we were kind of like, okay, well, where are we gonna go? We originally were gonna go to Guatemala, but we were with my parents, and they were like, well, we feel like Costa Rica might be like kind of a better option for them.
Mm.
So we went to Costa Rica. After we realized it's like one of the most expensive countries in Central America, we were like, oh,
Yeah.
great. But no, it wasn't that bad, and their money's really cool too. So
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You definitely need a 4-wheel drive vehicle though if you are in Costa Rica.
Oh,
That's
really?
like the top thing. Oh yeah.
well, so we went to
Well, where we went, but a lot of the country is like that.
yeah, a lot of the country is like the roads aren't very paved,
I mean,
and
even to get to where we were staying, if we didn't have a 4-wheel drive, we wouldn't even been able to get to our Airbnb.
no.
Mm.
But I mean, we were up in the mountains in La Fortuna, so we flew into San Jose, which was like the cap. Is it the
Mm.
capital? I
Capital,
think.
yeah.
So we didn't actually stay in the city. We pretty much flew in there and kind of got out as soon as we could. Nothing against San Jose, but we were really getting excited to get to the mountains. So that was, traveling across the country, we definitely needed but I think they have buses.
They do, and the buses have snorkels on them because they cross rivers. It's the first time I've ever seen a tour bus with a snorkel on it.
Yeah.
That
And I
is
remember
so.
thinking, yeah, I was like, why does this bus have a snorkel on it? Are they actually going under the water? Like, isn't that like, that's crazy.
Well, because some of the roads, they get flooded
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah,
That is.
it's a wild place. I mean, it's a popular destination, but they've maintained it in a way that it's like it's still very wild, and
Yes.
that's what we
Mm.
love. So Costa Rica is definitely a good spot.
Yeah, the wildlife
Oh, yeah,
was crazy.
Yeah, I
And we
picture
didn't
that.
I mean, I didn't look into it before we went, but where we were staying, we kept hearing these sounds, and it just sounded like machinery out there, but it was monkeys.
yeah, howler
Uh,
monkeys.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's why, I mean, that was the most amazing, like, wildlife experiences that we had in
yeah,
Costa Rica. So,
yeah,
I hope you go.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it'll happen. Not sure when, but it'll definitely happen. Talking about money, when I came to Australia, they have plastic money here, which was for me the first time I've ever known a country having plastic money. But also the money in Fiji is so beautiful. Really, it's also plastic, which is it's so. I think it's brilliant to have plastic money, but they also made their
mhm,
money so beautiful with some shells on it, or like really look it up. It's worth having a look at. And I kept one of the notes actually because, well, it's always nice to keep a note from a country to see how the money
mhm.
was. But especially the money in Fiji was one that I was like, yeah, this is really something I want to keep because it's just so pretty. I actually wanted to take a picture of that, but I never ended up doing so. To show people, I wanted to take a picture of the money in the water because you can kind of see there's like a small patch where you can like see through it. So it would have been a cool
Yep,
picture, but anyway, didn't happen.
yeah. That's how Colones is too. It's
Yeah.
plastic, and there is like a see-through portion of it. But yeah, I feel like a lot of countries have cool money. I feel like ours here in the States, I mean, all our money is just like it's all green and it has just like old guys on it. But in
Yeah.
other countries, they have beautiful birds. And Costa Rica, they have like, sloths on theirs and just like cool animals and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're
Yeah,
so behind the times here.
I know.
Yeah. So,
Well, we have really enjoyed speaking to you. We really appreciate you, coming on. If people want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
I have one Instagram that is more focused on my yoga, which is Jorina at Sea. And then I have my private one, but I have to say I'm not really sharing that much about my travels anymore. Like I do share some stuff on my stories, but I'm not as active as I thought I was going to be in the beginning. Maybe also because it's just been so long and I try to
mhm.
be pretty present in the moment. But yeah, those are the Instagram.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We've really enjoyed talking with you, and we'll be looking forward to keeping up with you and where you go next.
Likewise. Thank you for this experience. It was a nice experience. It was nice to speak to you guys. It was very interesting.
All right, you guys, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Let us know if you enjoyed this episode, if you're planning a trip to Fiji, or you're just here for the storytelling. You can find us on Instagram at Temporary Locals Podcast. We're on all major podcasting platforms. You can find Jared on Instagram at Rover_Stover and at Rover Stover on YouTube. And you can find me, Mego Goes Global, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. And with that,
I'm Jared.
and I'm Megan. Thanks for exploring with us.
And remember to be a local anywhere you go.
Bye.
Bye.